वेद्या सत्यानन्दस्वरूपिणी लोपामुद्रार्चिता लीला क्लुप्त ब्रह्माण्डमण्डला अदृश्यादृश्यरहिता विज्ञात्री वेद्यवर्जिता योगिनी योगदा योग्या योगानन्दा युगन्धरा इच्छाशक्ति ज्ञानशक्ति क्रियाशक्ति स्वरूपिणी सर्वाधारा सुप्रतिष्ठा सदसद्रूपधारिणी अष्टमूर्तिरजा जैत्री लोकयात्रा विधायिनी एकाकिनी भूमरूपा निर्द्वैता द्वैतवर्जिता अन्नदा वसुधा वृद्धा ब्रह्मात्मैक्यस्वरूपिणी बृहती ब्राह्मणी ब्राह्मी ब्रह्मानन्दा बलिप्रिया भाषारूपा बृहत्सेना भावा भावविवर्जिता सुखाराध्या शुभकरी शोभना सुलभा गतिः राजराजेश्वरी राज्यदायिनी राज्यवल्लभा राजत्कृपा राजपीठ निवेशित निजाश्रिता राज्यलक्ष्मीः कोशनाथा चतुरङ्गबलेश्वरी साम्राज्यदायिनी सत्यसन्धा सागरमेखला दीक्षिता दैत्यशमनी सर्वलोकवशङ्करी सर्वार्थदात्री सावित्री सच्चिदानन्दरूपिणी देशकाला परिच्छिन्ना सर्वगा सर्वमोहिनी सरस्वती शास्त्रमयी गुहाम्बा गुह्यरूपिणी सर्वोपाधिविनिर्मुक्ता सदा शिवपतिव्रता सम्प्रदायेश्वरी साध्वी गुरुमण्डलरूपिणी कुलोत्तीर्णा भगाराध्या माया मधुमती मही गणाम्बा गुह्यकाराध्या कोमलाङ्गी गुरुप्रिया स्वतन्त्रा सर्वतन्त्रेशी दक्षिणामूर्तिरूपिणी सनकादिसमाराध्या शिवज्ञानप्रदायिनी चित्कलानन्दकलिका प्रेमरूपा प्रियङ्करी नामपारायणप्रीता नन्दिविद्यानटेश्वरी मिथ्या जगदधिष्ठाना मुक्तिदा मुक्तिरूपिणी दास्यप्रियालयकरी लब्धारम्भादिवन्दिता भवदा वसुधा वृष्टिः पापारण्यदवानला दौर्भाग्यतूलवातूला जराध्वान्तरविप्रभा भाग्याब्धिचन्द्रिका भक्तचित्तकेकि घना घना रोगपर्वतदम्भोलिर्मृत्युदारुकुठारिका महेश्वरी महाकाली महाग्रासा महाशना अपर्णा चण्डिका चण्डमुण्डा सुरनिषोधिनी क्षराक्षरात्मिका सर्वलोकेशी विश्वधारिणी त्रिवर्गदात्री सुभगा त्रयम्बका त्रिगुणात्मिका स्वर्गापवर्गदा शुद्धा जपा पुष्पनिभाकृतिः ओजोवती द्युतिधरा यज्ञरूपा प्रियव्रता दुराराध्या दुराधर्षा पाटली कुसुमप्रिया महती मेरुनिलया मन्दारकुसुमप्रिया विराराध्या विराट्रूपा विरजा विश्वतोमुखी प्रत्यग्रूपा पराकाशा प्राणदा प्राणरूपिणी मार्ताण्डभैरवाराध्या मन्त्रिणी न्यस्तराज्यधूः त्रिपुरेशी जयत्सेना निस्त्रैगुण्या परापरा सत्यज्ञानानन्दरूपा सामरस्य परायणा कपर्दिनी कलामाला कामधुक्कामरूपिणी कलानिधिः काव्यकला रसज्ञा रससेवधिः पुष्टा पुरातना पूज्या पुष्करा पुष्करेक्षणा परञ्ज्योतिः परन्धामा परमाणुः परात्परा पाशहस्ता पाशहन्त्री परमन्त्रविभेदिनी मूर्ता अमूर्ता अनित्यतृप्ता मुनिमानसहंसिका सत्यव्रता सत्यरूपा सर्वान्तर्यामिनी सती ब्रह्माणी ब्रह्मजननी बहुरूपा बुधार्चिता प्रसवित्री प्रचण्डाज्ञा प्रतिष्ठा प्रकटाकृतिः प्राणेश्वरी प्राणदात्री पञ्चाशत्पीठरूपिणी विशृङ्खला विविक्तस्था वीरमाता वियत्प्रसूः मुकुन्दा मुक्तिनिलया मूलविग्रहरूपिणी भावज्ञा भवरोगग्नी भवचक्रप्रवर्तिनी छन्दस्सारा शास्त्रसारा मन्त्रसारा तलोदरी उदारकीर्तिरुद्दामा वैभवा वर्णरूपिणी जन्म मृत्युचरा तप्ता जनविश्रान्तिदायिनी सर्वोपनिषदुद्घुष्टा शान्ततीतकलात्मिका गम्भीरा गगनान्तस्था गर्विता गानलोलुपा कल्पनारहिता काष्ठा कान्ता कान्तार्धविग्रह कार्यकारणनिर्मुक्ता कामकेलितरङ्गिता कनत्कनकताटङ्का लीला विग्रहधारिणी अजाक्षय विनिर्मुक्ता मुग्धा क्षिप्रप्रसादिनी अन्तर्मुखसमाराध्या बहिर्मुखसुदुर्लभा त्रयी त्रिवर्गनिलया त्रिस्था त्रिपुरमालिनी निरामया निरालम्बा स्वात्मा रामा सुधाश्रुतिः संसारपङ्कनिर्मग्ना समुद्धरणपण्डिता यज्ञप्रिया यज्ञकर्त्री यजमानस्वरूपिणी धर्माधारा धनाध्यक्षा धनधान्यविवर्धिनी विप्रप्रिया विप्ररूपा विश्वभ्रमणकारिणी विश्वग्रासा विद्रुमाभा वैष्णवी विष्णुरूपिणी अयो निर्योनि निलया कूटस्था कुलरूपिणी वीरगोष्ठी प्रिया वीरा नैष्कर्म्यानादरूपिणी विज्ञानकलना कल्या विदग्धा पैन्दवासना तत्त्वाधिका तत्त्वमयी तत्त्वमर्थस्वरूपिणी सामगानप्रिया सौम्या सदाशिवकुटुम्बिनी सव्यापसव्यमार्गस्था सर्वापद्विनिवारिणी स्वस्था स्वभावमधुरा धीरा धीरसमर्चिता चैतन्यार्घ्यसमाराध्या चैतन्यकुसुमप्रिया सदोदिता सदा तुष्टा तरुणादित्यपाटला दक्षिणा दक्षिणाराध्या दरस्मेरमुखाम्बुज कौलिनी केवलानर्घ्या कैवल्यपददायिनी स्तोत्रप्रिया सुतिमती श्रुतिसंस्तुतवैभव मनस्विनी मानवती महेशी मङ्गलाकृतिः विश्वमाता जगद्धात्री विशालाक्षी विरागिणी प्रगल्भा परमोदारा परामोदा मनोमयी व्योमकेशी विमानस्था वज्रिणी वामकेश्वरी पञ्चयज्ञप्रिया पञ्चप्रेतमञ्चाधिशायिनी पञ्चमी पञ्चभूतेशी पञ्चसङ्ख्योपचारिणी शाश्वती शाश्वतैश्वर्या शर्मदा शम्भुमोहिनी धराधरसुता धन्या धर्मिणी धर्मवर्धिनी लोकातीता गुणातीता सर्वातीता शमात्मिका बन्धुककुसुमप्रख्या बाला लीला विनोदिनी सुमङ्गली सुखकरी सुदेशाढ्या सुवासिनी सुवासिन्यर्चनप्रीता आशोभना शुद्धमानसा बिन्दुदर्पणसन्तुष्टा पूर्वजा त्रिपुराम्बिका दशमुद्रा समाराध्या त्रिपुरा शिवशङ्करी ज्ञानमुद्रा ज्ञानगम्या ज्ञानज्ञेयस्वरूपिणी योनिमुद्रा त्रिखण्डेशी त्रिगुणाम्बा त्रिकोणगा अनघाद्भुतचारित्रा वाञ्छितार्थप्रदायिनी अभ्यासातिशयज्ञाता शरद्ध्वातीतरूपिणी अव्याजकरुणामूर्तिरत्नानध्वान्तदीपिका आबालगोपविदिता सर्वान्नुल्लङ्घ्य शासना श्रीचक्रराजनिलया श्रीमत्त्रिपुरसुन्दरी श्रीशिवा शिवशक्त्यैक्य रूपिणी ललिताम्बिका एवं ललिता देव्याः नाम्नां साहस्रकं जगुः ॐ सिन्दूरारुणविग्रहां त्रिनयनां माणिक्यमौलिस्फुरत् तारानायकशेखरां स्मितमुखीमापीनवक्षोरुहां पाणिभ्यामलिपूर्णरत्नचषकं रक्तोत्पलं बिभ्रतीं सौम्यां रत्नघटस्थरक्तचरणां ध्यायेत् परामम्बिकाम् ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः हरि ओम
ओंकार बीजाक्षरी माता गौरी उमा शंकरी श्री अम्बा परमेश्वरी देवी दाक्षायणी सुंदरी श्री अम्बा परमेश्वरी देवी दाक्षायणी सुंदरी ओंकार बीजाक्षरी माता गौरी उमा शंकरी जय जगदम्बा जय जय भवानी जय शिवरमणी माता जय त्रिपुराम्बा गजमुख जननी लोक पावनी माता जय जगदम्बा जय जय भवानी जय शिवरमणी माता जय त्रिपुराम्बा गजमुख जननी लोक पावनी माता सौभाग्य संपत्करी प्रत्यक्ष माहेश्वरी सौभाग्य संपत्करी अम्बा प्रत्यक्ष माहेश्वरी जय दुर्गा परमेश्वरी देवी पार्वती शिव शंकरी जय दुर्गा परमेश्वरी देवी पार्वती शिव शंकरी ओंकार बीजाक्षरी माता गौरी उमा शंकरी जय जगदम्बा जय जय भवानी जय शिवरमणी माता जय त्रिपुराम्बा गजमुख जननी लोकपावनी माता जय जगदम्बा जय जय भवानी जय शिवरमणी माता जय त्रिपुराम्बा गजमुख जननी लोकपावनी माता काशीपुराधीश्वरी माता अन्नपूर्णेश्वरी काशीपुराधीश्वरी अम्बा माता अन्नपूर्णेश्वरी नित्यान्नदानेश्वरी देवी माता कृपासागरी नित्यान्नदानेश्वरी देवी माता कृपासागरी ओंकार बीजाक्षरी माता गौरी उमाशंकरी श्री अम्बा परमेश्वरी देवी दाक्षायणी सुंदरी ओंकार बीजाक्षरी माता गौरी उमाशंकरी माता गौरी उमाशंकरी माता गौरी उमाशंकरी.
Next, we will be singing Bhagyada Lakshmi Barama. This popular kirtana is by Sri Purandara Dasa, who humbly invites Goddess Lakshmi into our homes. As you listen to this song, imagine the smiling Goddess Lakshmi fully decorated with all the jewelry walking in. Her beautiful feet making little steps are graced with jingling anklets, and her hands offering infinite wealth are decorated with gem-studded sparkling bangles. Bhagyada Lakshmi Baramma Bhagyada Lakshmi Baramma Nammamma ni Bhagyada Lakshmi Baramma ಹೆಜ್ಜೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆಯ ನಿಕ್ಕುತ ಗೆಜ್ಜೆಯ ಕಾಲ್ಗಳ ಧ್ವನಿಯ ತೋರುತ ಸಜನ ಸಾಧು ಪೂಜೆಯ ವೇಳೆಗೆ ಮಜ್ಜಿಗೆಯೊಳಗಿನ ಬೆಣ್ಣೆಯಂತೆ ಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮ ನೀ ಸೌಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ಕನಕ ವೃಷ್ಟಿಯ ಕರೆಯುತ್ತ ಬಾರೆ ಮನಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾನವ ಸಿದ್ಧಿಯ ತೋರೆ ದಿನಕರ ಕೋಟಿ ತೇಜದಿ ಹೊಳೆಯುವ ಜನಕರಾಯನ ಕುಮಾರಿ ಬೇಗ ಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮ ನೀ ಸೌಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ಅತ್ತಿತ್ತಲಗದೆ ಭಕ್ತರ ಮನೆಯೊಳು ನಿತ್ಯ ಮಹೋತ್ಸವ ನಿತ್ಯ ಸುಮಂಗಲ ಸತ್ಯವ ತೋರುವ ಸಾಧು ಸಜ್ಜನರ ಚಿತ್ತದಿ ಹೊಳೆಯುವ ಪುತ್ತಲಿ ಗೊಂಬೆ ಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮ ನೀ ಸೌಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯಿಲ್ಲದ ಭಾಗ್ಯವ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಕಂಕಣ ಕೈಯ ತಿರುಗುತ್ತವಾರೆ ಕುಂಕುಮಾಂಕಿತೆ ಪಂಕಜ ಲೋಚನ ವೆಂಕಟರಮಣನ ಬಿಂಕದ ರಾಣಿ ಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮ ನೀ ಸೌಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ಸಕ್ಕರೆ ತುಪ್ಪದ ಹಾಲು ಬೆಹರಿಸಿ ಶುಕ್ರವಾರದ ಪೂಜೆಯ ವೇಳೆಗೆ ಅಕರೆಯುಳ್ಳ ಅಳಗಿರಿ ರಂಗನ ಚೊಕ್ಕ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲನ ರಾಣಿ ಸಕ್ಕರೆ ತುಪ್ಪದ ಹಾಲು ಬೆಹರಿಸಿ ಶುಕ್ರವಾರದ ಪೂಜೆಯ ವೇಳೆಗೆ ಅಕರೆಯುಳ್ಳ ಅಳಗಿರಿ ರಂಗನ ಚೊಕ್ಕ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲನ ರಾಣಿ ಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮ ನೀ ಸೌಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ಹರಿ ಓಂ
ಹರಿ ಓಂ.
त्रिविधा हि स्वरूपा देवी परा महाकाली च लक्ष्मी सरस्वतीया पुरुषार्थप्रदायिनि देवी परा राजराजेश्वरी पराशक्ति उमा कल्याणकरि देवी समष्टिपरा परिवारसुपालिनि व्यष्टि सदा दुर्गा वरदा भयनाशिनि मा मम तामसहारिणि पालय माम् सदा स्वार्थस्य सिद्धित्वया कृपया परिपूर्णपरार्थप्रसादकरि मनमोहिनि कामिनि लादकरि दुरदृष्टविनाशिनि भाग्यमये इहलौकिकज्ञानप्रदायिनि मा परलौकिकविद्याप्रदर्शिनि मा श्रुतिदेवी सरस्वती वेदमयी वरदे वरं देहि मे मोक्षप्रदे जय हे शिवशक्तिमयी जय हे शुभलक्ष्मीमयी जय हे श्रुतिसारमयी जय हे जगदात्ममयी जय हे शिवशक्तिमयी जय हे शुभलक्ष्मीमयी जय हे श्रुतिसारमयी जय हे जगदात्ममयी
Namaste. My name is Indira Konduri and a happy Navaratri to all of you. It is an honor and pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Pujya Vilasini Ji. Vilasini Ji has been involved with CMWRC for many years and has held several leadership positions. She has served as the executive secretary. She has guided the Balavihar curriculum development and program development and made it into the thriving program that it is today. Vilasini Ji has held spiritual parenting workshops and she's conducted many Devi retreats and continues to guide us all the way from Florida even today. I have been blessed to hear Vilasini Ji speak on several occasions, including when she used to come to sub for Pujya Swami Dhirananda during adult Gita classes. And she's spoken during Balavihar Tilak ceremonies, she has spoken during Balavihar teacher retreats, and in all of these times, I have always learned very practical tools and tips that she would give us that I could bring and apply immediately to my day-to-day life. I learned the meaning of equanimity from Vilasini Ji, this concept of samatvam, where you accept what is and put your best foot forward. So I know we're all in for a wonderful treat this evening. So I want to thank all the volunteers and organizers for making today happen to bring this special treat to us. So a very warm welcome to Pujya Vilasini Ji to the October 2020 Devi Retreat. And thank you all. Hari Om. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Indira, for your warm welcome and really for everyone for putting together these nights to celebrate Navaratri since we can't go out very much. So I'm honored and I'm really happy to present tonight two things. One is a simple home puja, and afterwards a talk on the history of Devi worship. So we're going to start with a Devi puja, not the elaborate one like what we'll be having here on Wednesday night, but a simple one that all of us can do ourselves in our own homes. You might have all seen the flyer to prepare for your home puja, but if not, you can get it later online. I don't know if any of you remember this flyer that was been in our Balavihar binders for about 20 years. about how to conduct a home puja on Navaratri. So tonight we're going to do it with the help of our chicks and Setukaris. They're going to lead the prayers. So please follow along at home. Before we begin, what is the main ingredient in any puja? You know, is it the altar, or is it the murtis, or the pictures, or the offerings, or the shlokas, or the diya, arati, or naivedyam? Really, we know the most important ingredient in any puja is our bhakti, our devotion to Bhagavan or Bhagavati. So prayers bear fruit when they're given with a sincere heart. And the greater the sincerity, the greater the benefit. So here you'll be seeing Lakshmi and Sumant Ravipati's altar. And I think that'll be coming up in a minute. Lakshmi and Sumant have put together a home altar, simple home altar with pictures of Durga Devi, Lakshmi Devi, and Saraswati Devi. And they've included Ganesha and Gurudev as well. So we're going to spotlight their altar when we can. So gather your family and sit in front of the altar or the laptop. So every puja begins with a prayer to Sri Ganesha, Vigneshwara, the Lord who removes all our obstacles. So Keshav Kauta, he will lead the Ganesha shloka, and he may be highlighted as well. So join your hands and close your eyes and remember Sri Ganesha.
Hari Om. Before we begin with the slokas, I will start by reading the meaning. We'll be chanting 3 slokas. So the meaning of the first sloka is as follows. O Lord with the elephant face, whose sight causes the face of Mother Parvati to light up like a beautiful lotus blooming upon seeing the sun, I meditate upon you day and night. Bless us, O single-tusked Lord, giver of boons in plenty. The second verse's meaning is, O Lord, who is wearing white-colored clothes, who is all-pervading, who has 4 hands, who has a peaceful and joyous face. We meditate upon you. Please remove all our obstacles. And the last verse's meaning is, O Lord, who has a curved trunk, who has a large body and whose splendor is similar to 1,000,000 suns. Please make my undertakings free of obstacles by extending your blessings. So I will start chanting the verses now. Om Agajanana Padmarkam Gajananam Aharnisham Anekadantam Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasmahe Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Hari Om.
Thank you, Keshav. And now at home, of course, when you're doing this, chant any Ganesha shlokas that you know. So now we're going to offer a prayer to our Guru Parampara, and Vinay Mallikarjun will chant a Guru shloka, and he has chosen one written by Adi Shankara in Viveka Chudamani.
Hari Om, everyone. As Vlasniji said, I will be chanting the 35th verse of Viveka Chudamani by Adi Shankaracharya. I will read the meaning first and then chant the verse. Adi Shankaracharya says, O Master, O friend of those who reverentially surrender to thee, thou ocean of mercy, I salute thee, save me, fallen as I am, into the sea of change, with the direct glance from thy eyes, which rain nectar in grace supreme. I will now chant the verse. Swamin namaste nataloka bandho karunya sindho patitam bhavabdhau mamuddharatmiya kataksha drishtya Rujvyati karunya sudhabhivrishtya. Hari Om.
Thank you, Vinay. And now that we have invoked and invited Ganesha and our gurus, we will invoke Devi Mata, Bhagavati Ma, our divine mother who has given us this life and this world so that we can live in gratitude to her. So let's strive to see her presence everywhere. So we're first going to welcome Devi by offering some kumkum or chandan. Gandham samarpayami. And then we'll offer her some flowers. Pushpani samarpayami. And now some incense, some agarbatti. Dhupam samarpayami. And now we'll light a diya. Deepam samarpayami. And now offer naivedyam, which can be either cooked or you can just simply offer some fruits or nuts. Naivedyam samarpayami. And now we'll invoke Devi's presence and worship her with a bhajan. Krishna Priya Tirumala will sing a bhajan on Devi.
Hi, everyone. The bhajan that I'm going to present today is called Mangala Shubhakari. And first I'll read the meaning. O Mother, Chief of Goddesses, the one who bestows auspiciousness. O Mother, Ambe Bhavani, Goddess of the universe, you are the one with beautiful eyes. You are the supreme goddess, the ancient one, the embodiment of supreme bliss. Mangala Shubhakari Mata Maheshwari, Mangala Shubhakari Mata Maheshwari, Mangala Shubhakari Mata Maheshwari, Mangala Shubhakari Mata Maheshwari, Ambe Bhavani Akhilandeshwari, Ambe Bhavani Akhilandeshwari, Ambe Bhavani Akhilandeshwari, Ambe Bhavani Akhilandeshwari, Mangala Shubhakari Mata Maheshwari, Mangala Shubhakari Mata Maheshwari. Rajivalochani Raja Rajeshwari, Rajivalochani Raja Rajeshwari, Rajivalochani Raja Rajeshwari, Rajivalochani Raja Rajeshwari, Adi शिवशङ्करी आनन्दरूपिणि श्री शिवशङ्करी आनन्दरूपिणि श्री शिवशङ्करी मङ्गलशुभकरी माता महेश्वरी मङ्गलशुभकरी माता महेश्वरी.
Thank you, Krishna Priya. It's beautiful. So after invoking and worshiping Devi, we'll close our eyes and meditate on her presence for a few minutes. And I'll lead with some simple prayers. Devi Ma, please take away our unhappy thoughts and our unpleasant habits. And just feel these prayers in your heart. Devi Ma, please help us develop noble and selfless qualities. Please bless us in our studies and in our work. Ma, please bestow on us your love of the divine and your wisdom. Ma, please bring peace and healing to the world and unity and understanding among all peoples. Om Shri Matre Namah. And now we'll offer Arati to Devi. So we'll chant together Nakarmana Arati, and Neha Mehta will give the meaning of the Arati first, and then Lakshmi and Sumant Ravipati will offer Arati at this altar.
Hari Om. The meaning of the Arti is translated as, not by work, nor by progeny, nor by wealth, but by renunciation alone is immortality attained. Higher than heaven, seated in the cave of the intellect, it shines, which the seekers attain. Those who are pure in mind, striving on the path of renunciation, come to ascertain clearly the deeper imports of knowledge, the theme of the Upanishads. They, in the end, gain the world of Brahman and liberate themselves to gain the highest immortality. The sun does not shine there, nor the moon, nor the stars, nor lightning. But by his light, everything is illumined. Hari Om.
And now we'll have the Arati, but Lakshmi, please unmute your laptop. Yeah, Lakshmi. Okay. Great.
ॐ न कर्मणा न प्रजया जनेन त्यागैनैके अमृतत्वमानशुः परेण नाकं निहितं गुहायां विभ्राजते यत्यतयो विशन्ति वेदान्तविज्ञानसुनिश्चितार्थ सन्न्यासयोग यतयच्छुद्धसत्त्वाः ते ब्रह्मलोके तु परान्तकाले परामृतात् परिमुच्यन्ति सर्वे दह्रं विपापं परमेष्मभूतं यत्पुण्डरीकं पुरमद्य सर्गस्थम् तत्रापि दह्रं गगनं विशोकस्तस्मिन् यदन्तस्तदुपासितव्यम् यो वेदादौ स्वरप्रोक्तो वेदान्ते च प्रतिष्ठितः तस्य प्रकृतिलीनस्य यः परः स महेश्वरः न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चन्द्रतारकम् नेमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतोऽयमग्निः तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वम् तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति ॐ हर हर नमः पार्वतीपतये हर हर महादेव श्री दुर्गा मैया की जय श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय
Everyone do namaskar to the Aarti. Beautiful. Thank you. And now we'll conclude with a Shanti Pat, so you can join along at home. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And one final shloka. O Lord, forgive the mistakes committed by us while speaking of the mantras or due to lack of mantras, in doing the puja or due to lack of any rituals or devotion. But please render our prayers complete and fulfill our desires. We pray to you, O Lord. Mantrahinam kriyahinam bhaktihinam janardana yat pujitam maya deva paripurnam tarastute paripurnam tarastute. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Well, happy Navaratri to everybody, and may Devi Ma's blessings be on all. And I really thank the chicks and the Setukardis for participating in this puja, and because whenever they're there, they make it more meaningful and enjoyable. I also want to thank Sandhya Piratla and Rahul Dharma, who helped a lot behind the scenes. So now that the chicks Setukaris have shown you how to do this simple puja, you and your family can do it at home during Navaratri every night and every year. If not this year, every other year. And also thank you, Swamiji, for your presence and your blessings always. Hari Om. So now I would like to change tempo and share with you all a historical background of Devi worship in Hinduism throughout the ages. In Balavihar, we learn a lot about the glories of Devi and many stories about her, but we really haven't gone much into the ancient history. So my interest in history and archaeology started when I worked for Time Life Books as a researcher writer on their archaeology series. And I actually got to compile the lead research for a Time Life book on ancient India. And I just loved it. I found it so fascinating. One really exciting moment was when I was interviewing a South Asian archaeologist from the University of Wisconsin. And he said he had recently excavated figurines from Mehrgarh, north of the Indus River, in a site that is dated from around 7,000 BC to 4,000 BC. It's one of the most important Neolithic sites in world archaeology, and it's a precursor to the great Harappan civilization. So this is long before the Mohenjo-Daro Harappan eras, which started in 3000 BC. So I would like to ask now to show photo number 4. Yes, okay. So really exciting that, first of all, there were thousands of female figurines dated as early as 5500 BC that were recovered at Mehrgar, thousands of them. And the figurines were female with elaborate hairdress, some of them. But he said the most amazing discovery was that on one of them, he could find sindoor in the part of the hair. So there's a picture here, but it's a little hard to see, but right up here, there is red sindoor. And this is from thousands of years ago. So normally it would have crumbled off over the millennia, but this one was still there. So this is concrete proof that the same tradition today of putting sindoor or kumkum on the forehead has been in practice for at least 7,000 to 8,000 years, at least. So to be able to see with one's eyes an artifact from so long ago, proving the same religious practices as today, it's really breathtaking. So I'm going to share just a few things that I hope that you will enjoy. It'll be a little like a history lesson, but it's a very important one. So I'm hoping that it won't be too academic. But when I first studied Vedanta in Sandipani, Mumbai in 1976, the Hindu scholars taught that the Vedas and the Upanishads were timeless, going back to the beginning of humanity. Yet the academic scholars were claiming that the Vedas were only maybe maximum 3,000, 3,500 years old. So these archaeological findings that came in the 1980s pushed back the timeline and just gave more evidence of a very, very ancient tradition. So tonight I'm going to share some information about archaeological evidence of Devi worship, the literary evidence, some ancient Devi temples, and the influence of Devi worship on Adi Shankara, and the development of Sri Vidya. Now, even earlier than the Mehrgar site that I just mentioned, that site that's in Pakistan now, is the Bhagur site in Madhya Pradesh. And that dates back to 9,000 to 8,000 BC. So it has archaeological evidence of what appears to be a shrine for Shakti worship. So now please show photo 1. Yes, okay. This, in the 1980s, an Indo-US team of archaeologists were working in the Son Valley of Madhya Pradesh, and they stumbled upon evidence that Shakti worship, Devi worship, existed in prehistoric Stone Age India. So the archaeologists were lifting large numbers of stone artifacts, which are dated, some of them between 30,000 and 10,000 years old, when they came upon a rough circular platform of sandstone rubble. So you can see there, about 3 feet in diameter. And in the middle of this platform was a fragment of a natural stone which had concentric triangular striations etched into it. Okay, it's there in the middle. If you can highlight, it's hard to see, but it is there. And the fragment stood out from the rest of the circle stones because of its unusual colors, ranging from a light yellowish red to a dark reddish brown. So, intrigued by these features, the archaeologists cleared more surface debris, and they found 9 more fragments of that stone. And all the fragments joined together to form one triangular stone, photo number 2. This is what joined together from the middle, and it became that. They put that together. It's about 7 inches high. And it seemed as though some Stone Age worshipers had deliberately placed this stone in the circle's center. So the archaeologists, though, they weren't really sure what its importance was until a village worker saw them and saw this stone and got very upset and said, "Why did you break this stone? It's divine, it's Devi." And they thought the archaeologists had broken it and then put it back together. But the archaeologists said, no, it came like this out of the ground. And at which point the villager prostrated at the stone in amazing reverence. So spurred on by this discovery, the archaeologists began to search for more evidence of the use of this stone. And near the site, they chanced upon a contemporary stone shrine to Devi. That is photo, remember what this looks like. Now, photo number 3 is contemporary. This is modern. It's there now. A rough circular platform made up of sandstone and limestone blocks. And the shrine centered around a seated stone figurine in the back of what the locals called Angari Devi. And also placed on the shrine were 6 pieces of sandstone, all with concentric triangles or ellipses with the same colorings as the fragments at the dig. And the village worshippers of Devi had daubed the stones with sindoor. You can see the sindoor markings, the powder. So, I mean, these things are really amazing because it shows that the villagers of the region have religious practices that have remained unchanged for like at least 11,000 years. So I don't know, I found that very exciting, and obviously the archaeologists did. And more archaeology teams are digging at sites with amazing discoveries. At Mirzapur in Uttar Pradesh, there's another site where Devi figurines have been unearthed. Some of them they think are carbon dating to 20,000 years BC, 20,000 years BC. And also belonging to that period are some collections of colorful stones marked with natural triangles, similar to stones still worshipped as Devi by villagers in the area. And they do seem connected to the later use of yantras, in which triangles are a vital symbol of Devi. So archaeology is always uncovering, and you know, it's a growing field. So now I'm going to go to the Indus Valley civilization, which is the Harappan Mohenjo-Daro civilization that everybody's heard of that. And that was Bronze Age in the northwestern regions along the Indus River. And it lasted from about 3,300 BC to 1,300 BC. Okay, so 2,000 years. Together with ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, it was one of the 3 early civilizations of the Near East and South Asia. And of those 3 civilizations, it was the most widespread. Its sites spanning an area from northeast Afghanistan through much of Pakistan into western and northwestern India. And it flourished in the basins of the Indus River, which flows through the length of now Pakistan and along a system of perennial rivers. So this civilization, and I wish I had pictures, but I don't have any more pictures, was known for their urban planning, baked brick houses, elaborate drainage systems, water supply systems, clusters of large, like non-residential buildings, and advanced techniques in handicrafts, seal carving, and metallurgy. So these large cities of Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa are thought to have had between 30,000 to 60,000 residents at a time. And the civilization itself during its peak may have had between 1 and 5 million individuals. But the reason I'm talking about this civilization tonight is an amazing find was that there were female figurines found in almost all excavated households. And I mean, this indicates widespread Devi worship. The figurines are considered Devis because they have elaborate headdresses and some with ornaments. And the objects and the images found suggested that the Devi worshipped in the Indus Valley civilization was associated with fertility and agricultural productivity. So there's a famous historian, N.N. Bhattacharya, who links the archaeological discoveries of the Indus Valley, Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa civilization to present-day Shaktism. According to Bhattacharya, the Indus Valley populations sheltered a mixed population, the major section of which came from adjacent villages to seek their fortune in the great cities. And they, of course, they brought with them their own religious beliefs and rituals, and the Divine Mother, the Devi figure of the agricultural communities, which formed the basis of Harappan religion. So he says it's quite clearly believed that the religion of the Harappans was Devi worship. Now, at the same time as the Harappans in northern India, in South India also, Devi-focused traditions were expanding northward from the sophisticated Dravidian civilizations of South India. And according to Bhattacharya, the concept of Shakti was an integral part of the Dravidian culture. And their female deities eventually came to be identified with the Puranic Parvati, Durga, and Kali. So now there's another way that scholars date civilizations, and that is through the literature. Okay, now I hope you all are with me. I wish I had a lot of slides and things to keep your attention, but okay. So archaeology is supported by ancient literature, and Hinduism gets its history, from so much from Sanskrit literature, and of which the oldest is, of course, the Vedas. Now, the Vedas are really hard to date. Scholars say they place them from like 1500 BC to 600 BC, but traditionalists assert no, says no, they're 5,000 years old, they're timeless. They're from the beginning of humanity. But one difficulty in dating them is that the Vedas were an oral tradition, and there are no early writings found of it. So linguistic archaeologists, they tried to date literature by marking changes in vocabulary and grammar. So like if you've read Old English, Chaucer, it's so different from Shakespearean English and from today's English and tomorrow's English with all of our iPhones is, I can't imagine what our future English will be. But one can analyze the changes and assume how long it must have taken for these changes to occur. But what Western scholars don't always appreciate is that the Vedas were memorized by thousands of pundits in verse form. And pundits were and are trained to be absolutely precise in memorizing and chanting. So nothing is going to change for centuries. And for any changes in vocabulary to take place, it would take much longer than what they think. So if this is the case, then the Vedas would be much older than what people think. Anyway, back to the Indus Valley Harappan civilization, it slowly declined and dispersed. Old scholars thought it was because there were Indo-Aryan tribes coming in, nomads coming in and fighting them and throwing them out and then taking over. But nowadays, archaeologists say it's very likely that the rivers themselves dried up and changed course. So the Indus Valley River, the Indus River changed. The Saraswati River that was supposed to be in those days, clearly it dried up. And so the people there were thought to have moved towards the Gangetic River Valley and mixed with other groups there, and then eventually gave rise to what is called the Vedic civilization. Female divinity, the Devis, continued to have a place in belief and worship, but generally in a more subordinate role, where the goddesses were primarily consorts to the male gods. So So it shifted. Before being the primary goddess, it became consorts, secondary to the male gods. The Vedas mention many female goddesses, and the most important is Ushas. And a number of hymns in the Vedas are dedicated exclusively to her. And the three divine mothers most mentioned in the Rig Veda are Aditi, Prithvi, and Saraswati. Prithvi continued to exist in later Hinduism as Bhudevi. And according to the historian Bhattacharya, it may be said that Aditi was the most ancient mother of the gods, even back to the Harappan civilization. Because even in the Rig Veda, she is considered to be a goddess of yore, a ancient goddess. So, and I have a passage from Devi Suktam. The Devi Suktam is a very beautiful passage from the Rig Veda. And it extols also Vach, which identifies with the present day Saraswati, and Shri, now better known as Lakshmi. So Devi Sukta is still widely chanted today. So the later part, as they say, of the Vedas are the Upanishads. And we see many instances of Devi in the Upanishads. And those of you who have studied Kena Upanishad, remember the Yakshini, where Devi appears as Shakti or Uma, and she actually teaches Agni and Vayu and Indra about Brahman. So she's given great status. Now we'll go to the epic period of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. And they are thought to be composed, of course, nobody knows, but maybe 800 BC. And there are many references to Devi. And we know well the importance of Lakshmi in the Ramayana. And in the Mahabharata, a very notable passage is the Durga Stotras, when Arjuna prays to Durga Ma before battle. So, and there's also, meanwhile, in South India, in Tamil Nadu, there was a great epic from even 100 AD called I don't know how to pronounce Tamil, Shilapatikaram. Anyway, it was one of the several literary masterpieces indicating the importance of Devi worship in South India. And it expresses the concept that Lakshmi, Saraswati, and Parvati all represent different aspects of the same one power. Okay, so now this brings us to the Puranas. The Puranas are thought to have been technically compiled during the Gupta period of North India, which is around 300 AD to 600 AD. But they are much older, and they were probably composed between at least 1000 BC. But in the 4th century, the Gupta kings had scholars collect and edit and record the oral traditions of prose and poetry and all the Puranas. And so the Puranas were put together and compiled and codified by the Guptas, the Gupta dynasty. And by far the most important text of Shaktism in the Puranas is, if anyone knows, the Devi Mahatmyam, also known as Chandi, found in the Markandeya Purana. And the Chandi dates back sometime maybe 900 BC to 500 BC. It's really impossible at this point to say when and where the story began. But in the Chandi or Devi Mahatmya, Devi is portrayed as the Mahishasura Mardini, the slayer of the buffalo Asura. Devi Mahatmya is significant also because it's found to be the earliest Hindu scripture in which Devi is given prominence over the male gods. So goddesses till now were secondary as their consorts or as symbols of their energy or their Shakti. But love and devotion to Devi was developing into a new system in which even the great gods like Vishnu or Shiva would be subordinate to Devi. And this reminds us of the most ancient Devi worship back from thousands of years before. and it came to be known as Shaktism and its followers as Shaktas. So now back to archaeology and ancient structures. Around the 2nd century BC, evidence is starting to be found of stone temples. Before this, temples were probably maybe of wood with thatched roofs, which would long have disintegrated. The Puranas talk about Mahashakti Pitams, built on places where the body parts of Devi Sati had fallen while being carried by her husband, Lord Shiva. And there are known to be 18 Mahashakti Pitams in South Asia still being worshipped at. And one important Shakti Pitam is the Sharda Pitam in Kashmir. So I want to talk about that for a little bit. The Sharda temple is now in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. It was one of the greatest centers of learning for centuries in the 1st millennium AD. Some accounts state that the Sharda Pitam was established in 237 BC during the reign of Ashoka, Emperor Ashoka, as a temple and also a center of learning dedicated to Sharda, of course, another name for Saraswati. But according to another account, the temple was built during the Kushanas dynasty in early 1st century AD. So the Sharda temple is a Shakti Pitam, very important one. And it was an ancient city of learning where texts written by Panini and other grammarians were stored. And so it's considered as a major ancient center of higher learning of Vedic works, scriptures, and commentaries. And it's famous for its script, the Sharda Lipi. And Adi Shankara visited the Sharda Pitam in the 800s, early 800s. So I'm going to tell a story about that. I'd like to mention here that Swami Tapovanam, also, he visited the Sharda temple in Kashmir during his yatras in the Himalayas in the 1930s, and he writes about it in Ishwara Darshan. He actually spent 6 weeks at the Sharda temple worshiping Divine Mother Sharda Devi. And he writes, so I've got a quote, Swamiji passed his days in bliss, devoting himself to the great goddess by word, deed, and thought. But sadly, since 1947, the partition, the temple has been completely deserted. And there's just 1 or 2 Brahmin priest families that live nearby to conduct pujas, but visitors and pilgrims haven't really been able to go. So now Adi Shankara is currently thought to have lived from 788 AD to 820 AD, but some feel that it was 200 years earlier. So we know him as the great exponent of Advaita, but what is not so well known is his love for Devi Upasana and his teachings on Sri Vidya. Shankara traveled throughout India and went up north to Kashmir. He wanted to visit the Sharda temple and Pitam in Kashmir when it was a vibrant university with great scholars. So it's written in Shankara Digvijaya that as Shankara reached the southern tower of the Sri Sharda temple and he got ready to open the gate and enter, the Pandit stopped him. He was put to a debate right there on the Upanishads. But the great Acharya easily overcame his opponents. So he was arguing against Dvaita, against Buddhist theology, and he was considered to have won those debates. And when they all admitted defeat, he was asked to ascend the Sarvagnya Pita, called the Throne of Omniscience, in the Sharda Pitam. So Shankara visited Kashmir with the intention of advancing Advaita Vedanta. And at the time, the Kashmiris were culturally and spiritually very advanced. And they believed strongly in the greatness of both Shiva and Shakti. Shankara, as it's said from some legends, did not at that time, when he visited Kashmir, believe in Shakti. because there's another story that's kind of interesting, is that after his visit to Shardapitam, Shankara and his party camped outside a city in Srinagar without any arrangement for food. And seeing the plight of the visitors, a Kumari, a young girl, was sent to meet Shankara. And she found the group frustrated because they had no fire and they couldn't cook. So the girl said to Shankara, "But you're so learned. Don't you know how to make fire?" And the girl picked up 2 thin wooden sticks into her hands and recited some mantras, rubbed the sticks together, and fire was produced, to the shock, amazement of Shankara. And this was perhaps his first glimpse of Shakti and her siddhis. During his stay there near Srinagar, a Shastrartha religious discussion was arranged between Shankara and a Kashmiri Pandita, a female. This discourse continued for 17 days. And it says in this legend that Shankaracharya yielded before the lady Pandit in discussion and accepted the predominance of Shakti cult, and the greatness of Devi. This discussion had a great influence on Shankara, and it inspired him to write his famous Saundarya Lahari in praise of Shakti. Saundarya Lahari is acclaimed as a masterpiece in Sanskrit literature. And after the visit to Kashmir, he became a staunch practitioner of Sri Chakra, as mentioned in Shankara Digvijaya. And Sri Vidya is considered as extremely helpful for a sadhaka of Vedanta to gain antakarana shuddhi, to be fit for Brahma Vidya. So I am beginning to run out of time, but I will just tell you I was going to talk more about Saundarya Lahari and how Lord Shiva gave it to Shankara, but anyway, that's all right. But it's one very famous composition, and it gives the systematic concepts of Sri Chakra and Tantra, Yantra, and powerful mantras to Devi. And also Mahatripura Sundari is there, becoming the dominant factor and the power holder, whereas Shiva is the substratum. And the first verse declares this idea, quote, "United with Shakti, Shiva is endowed with the power to create, but otherwise he is incapable of even a movement," unquote. So then I was going to talk about Lalita Sahasranama, which we all know and are chanting twice every evening. It's really a blessing to have that. And that's from the Markandeya Purana, and no, it's from Brahmanda Purana. So I'm going to close now, but it's an amazing history of how the worship of Shakti has survived over the ages and become important even today. And really, as we see, the Mahishasura Mardani is, well, the most important Shakta festival is Navaratri. And when did Navaratri begin? I'll just talk about this for a minute. It seems to have its roots in the Chandi, Devi Mahatmya, and which describes Durga Devi's victory over Asuras. And it's in these early Puranas that Divine Mother became a force against evil. So the celebration of Navaratri probably comes from that time. And also the Mahishasura Mardani is a very famous shloka chanted during Navaratri that was written by Shankara, and it invokes the blessings of Durga Devi. And it's believed that Navaratri is celebrated to ask Durga Mata to free us from the evils of life and bestow upon us eternal happiness. And this story is really a parable about how humans can overcome the demons in their own minds. So Durga, also known as she who tears apart thoughts, She conquers all evil thoughts like passion, anger, desire, and the ego. And it's her battle with and her defeat of the great ego, Mahishasura, that is most celebrated during Navaratri. And the goal of Hinduism is to come to know one's nature as the divine source of all living things. And we can realize our true nature when we surrender all our negative thoughts and tendencies to our Divine Mother, who protects and supports us always. And because human nature really doesn't seem to ever change, worship of Devi Ma is indeed a timeless practice. It sustained people from thousands of years ago. It continues to sustain millions of people, even now. I'm sure it will forever. So I'll just close with a chant. Sarva Mangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanye Trayambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Hari Om. Hari Om. Thank you.
Hari Om. Pranams Vilasni ji. Thank you so much for the very informative and inspiring talk on the second day of Navaratri 2020 virtual retreat hosted by Chinmaya Mission, Washington Regional Chapter. I personally enjoyed it very much, learning about the history of Devi worship, which I never knew. And I'm sure others will agree with me. Thanks to you and the Chiks and Setukaris for leading us into beautiful Devi Puja. You simplified the steps for us so we can all perform the Devi Puja ourselves at home. We are very grateful to you for your guidance and blessings.
Thank you.
We will now conclude today's program with Devi and Chinmaya Aarti, which will be performed by Ashutosh and Darshana Somalwarji and family at Chinmaya Somnath. Everyone, please join us, and we hope to see you again tomorrow. Hari Om.
जग जननी जय जय माँ जग जननी जय जय जग जननी जय जय माँ जग जननी जय जय भयहरिणी भवतारिणी भवभामिनी जय जय माँ जग जननी जय जय तू ही सतचित सुखमय शुद्ध ब्रह्म रूपा सत्य सनातन सुंदर कर शिव सुर भूपा माँ जग जननी जय जय अविकारी अगहारी अकल कलाधारी करता विधि भरता हरि हर संहरकारी दश विद्या नव दुर्गा नाना शस्त्र करा अष्ट मात्र का योगिनी नव नव रूप धरा माँ जग जननी जय जय जग जननी जय जय माँ जग जननी जय जय भयहरिणी भवतारिणी भवभामिनी जय जय माँ जग जननी जय जय माँ जग जननी जय जय माँ जग जननी जय जय
आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की दिव्य रूप मूर्ति करुणा की आरती सद्गुरु की चरणों में उनके शांति समाये शरणागत की भ्रांति मिटाए पाप ताप संताप हरण की आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की आरती सद्गुरु की वेद उपनिषद गीता को गाया धर्म सनातन फिर से जगाया शुद्ध नीति प्रीति शंकर की आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की आरती सद्गुरु की सिद्ध बारिकी तपोभूमि में नित्य विराजे गुरु हमारे भक्त हृदय आनंद स्रोत की आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की आरती सद्गुरु की आरती सद्गुरु की श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय।
Hari Om, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Vilasni ji, for the wonderful talk. That concludes our program for this evening. And we will see you all again tomorrow evening at 6:50 p.m. for Lalita Sahasranamam. Thank you. Hari Om. Hari Om. I think we just have the co-hosts. No? Hari
Hari
Om,
Om,
Swamiji.
Swamiji.
Good. That was very nice.
Oh, we lost him.
Yeah, I think Swamiji. Yep, we lost Swamiji. I think he dropped. Yeah.
I think he may have dropped. His Bhiksha was they were supposed to come around this 8:30 or so. They may be waiting.
Okay. Okay.
So, did you receive any comments today, Dineshji?
Any comments? No, I think we're good. I think.
Beautiful program. Yeah.
I don't think we had any. I mean, at least I could not tell. So.
No, but you didn't get any text messages like yesterday.
No, only one thing actually. Yes. So I moused over the video when it was playing. If I don't mouse over it, no one would know whether it's recorded or live. No one can tell. But the only issue I have is sometimes I need to gauge the timing. And the only way I can do that is mouse over to find out whether you're at 2 minutes, 30 seconds or in 3 minutes, 30 seconds. So I kind of do that. So that's why I have to go over. But maybe in the future, I can just wait for abruptly the video recording to end. And then I can do the next one. So that I couldn't avoid. But again, that's a small, trick of trade when you're playing the video.
And it's okay if people know there is a recording. It's okay.
Sure.
I thought it went very smoothly.
Yeah.
Seamlessly.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So. Yeah, it's a really beautiful program.
Yeah, I got a little scared when Vilasniji got dropped off, and I'm like, she was here, and then next minute she's not here, and then she's back, and so I'm like, oh my God! But I think eventually, when the time came, everything fell into place. So that was.
I was less worried because Swamiji joined. I thought he will entertain us.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he's going to join today, and then he's also going to join on because he did not want to change all the pictures. It's right in the middle, so that's why he was asking if YouTube link he can join. But he said that on Wednesday YouTube link we are doing, right. So he might join on Zoom itself because he moved his Wednesday Bhiksha to ask them to come later. Mm-hmm. So Wednesday he will join, and then of course that following Monday he will join.
Yeah. The interesting thing about the program is, Swamiji was, I mean, one thing I told Deepaji alone, I didn't tell everyone else. Swamiji, I added Swamiji as a co-host because if he wants to unmute himself and say something, I thought it's easy for him to do it. The only problem as a co-host is you'll see everyone coming in and leaving, or at least coming in. So he has texted me 3 times. I didn't realize it. I told him, I'm not checking my messages. Today it's Swamiji texting me. He said he doesn't want to see latecomers. So he asked me to remove him as a co-host.
Yeah, maybe we have to say in the beginning tomorrow, please arrive on time. I can just say that in the beginning. But
yeah, it's very difficult to see. People have some program in the evening, and I think it's good that they're joining at least for the talk part of it. And if you put too many rules or anything like that, what happens is they'll say, okay, I'm not joining today. I mean, they may be at 7:45 and they'll say, I'm not joining. And they won't have the fulfillment at the end of the program. So I think we can just let it go. I think it's one day.
I agree. It's tough after a full work day to attend the full program. Whatever they can join, I think is good.
So just wanted to update everybody. When I went to Bhiksha with Swamiji today, he requested, and Dinesh has already set this up, is on Wednesday. The program will be also broadcast through YouTube, is it?
Yes. Yeah.
So it will be, we're opening it up to everybody just for Wednesday. So the puja, Shurashara Upchara puja, as well as the bhajan will be open for
And Wednesday's schedule has been sent to Maniji, and maybe a quick walkthrough of. So Paulami said she's going to run the the switching of bhajan people and all those things.
No,
If
no,
that is the case,
Paulami will not run Zoom.
oh, she will not? I'm
No,
missing
she has
this.
never run Zoom. I don't think she can run Zoom.
Okay. In that case, then Maniji needs to be very intricately aware of who's next and all those things. And so that he can switch people without any issues.
Can
See,
we
the one,
request, can we request Maniji to Dineshji join on Tuesday after the program? Can he stay back for a
yeah,
bit?
yeah,
We can
I'll
start
ask him
the
to
Wednesday
do.
program. We can send him the sequence beforehand. Paulamiji already has the sequence. We can send that.
Yeah.
And he has to switch them. I don't think she can do it. I don't know if she's so proficient in Zoom. So I
Okay.
can check with her, but I don't think she's. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's not too difficult. We just have to, plan it, and since it's a live program, I think people will understand when they switch from A to B, and it's all okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it will be live. That Bhajan Sandhya that day will be live. So once we finish, actually everything is live, right? Shriji is live,
Yes.
and after that Bhajan Sandhya is also.
Is Sriji doing the puja from Chinmaya Somnath, or where is he doing it from?
I don't know. We can ask him.
Ashrafji, do you know where Sriji is doing the puja from on Wednesday?
Yeah, my understanding is the puja setup will be in Chinmaya Somnath, yes.
Okay. That'll be good.
Shriji won't be here, but somebody else, Shriji will be still online. He won't be in Chinmaya Somnath, but he will guide puja.
Oh,
Just like the opening day of opening day of Bal Vihar. Puja will be in one place, and he will be directing from other. That's what I think. I don't know.
Okay. It's doable. I mean, we did that in Bala Vihar opening day. All 3 pujas were done remotely, so we have done it. Okay.
And today's Vilasiniji's puja went very well.
Yes.
Was it all live? Bhajans and songs?
Everything was live, yeah. But she practiced on Saturday, right, Dineshji?
Yeah, she's practiced. The whole thing was practiced. And with the ability to do side by side, what happens is Vilasaniji can be on the left and Puja can be on the right. And when Puja was on there and someone else was speaking, they can do side by side. The only thing is, as I mentioned earlier in the 3 or 4 o'clock meeting, everyone should update their Zoom client to the latest Zoom client. It allows you to do that if you have the latest Zoom client, meaning whatever software is running on your machine. So that has to be updated.
How do we know if you have the latest Zoom client?
In Mac, all you need to do is,
Ask questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a couple of questions. Can we go first?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
The timing. I'm always worried about the timing of completing the Lalita Sahasranama. Did it overrun yesterday and today?
Today it was on the dot.
On the dot.
Today it was on the dot.
Yesterday we were a little bit behind, right? And today we were on time.
Yesterday we were behind. Today we were exactly what we planned for. So we are good.
7:25 or 7?
I think 7:25.
Okay.
And I think we started also little on the dot today, so I think we ended on time.
Okay, so the pace is okay. No need to.
No, the pace is good. I think if you go any faster, Shamji, people won't be able to follow.
And audio was good. You could.
Perfect. Very nice.
Audio was okay.
Lighting, picture. 1 second, I have one question.
Sure.
Everything what we can see here from here is we could see all the good pictures and everything. Video quality was good, right?
Yes.
Yeah, video quality is good. Extremely
good.
Very good. And also the Aarti was beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
That was very good.
it's courtesy Shyamji. He bought a new camera. Yeah. Hey, I have one kind of suggestion. So you had shown Chinmaya Somnath picture yesterday as well as today while somebody was speaking. Would you mind changing that to Swami Swarupananda's message? He posts on his Facebook page, he posts the message. So if you could use that instead of Chinmaya Somnath. This is a CMWRC wide program. So my recommendation is to pick up something from Swami Swarupananda's Facebook. He posts the message. That will be a good to see rather than Chinmaya Somnath.
But we love seeing the Chinmaya Somnath.
No, I agree.
It's so beautiful.
I'm just saying this is a CMWRC program, so let's make sure it's viewed as broader. Yeah.
It's Devi picture and Shivji picture, no? Yahi pe bhi hai, to it's.
Yeah. I think No, the Swami sir. If you see today's picture, right? I think he like every day. Yesterday it was what is it? I forgot. Anyway, today was a brahmacharini. So he's putting the day.
Oh, the Kavacham, the yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I think
Shakti
the message
Brahmachari.
is so nice. So I think it is good if
Sure.
people have a and of course Swami Swarupananda being head of the Chinmaya mission. So that's also blessings from him when we hear from his.
Which segment are we talking about? I mean, is this
You,
for?
you had the Chinmaya Somnath picture.
Is this during the Devi thing, right?
Audio bhajan, no?
Devi Arya Bhajan. So I was actually thinking of something different. I was wondering why I was even showing the picture when we have a live spot.
That was
I was
another.
wondering why I was doing it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
No, we don't have a live video for Devi Bhajan, na?
No.
We can.
He could have.
Picture. He could have just spotlighted the.
No, instead of doing the picture, I could spotlight Chinmaya Somnath video and play like the way when they're doing the aarti, I can do the same thing.
Yeah. So I think just showing the message would be good. I know many of us subscribe to his page, but anyway, it just
Sure.
Yeah. It's starting tomorrow. It's Money tomorrow. Tuesday is Samatha and
So
Henriette.
6 o'clock program, right? I'm also doing the slide, so which I will be always copying the picture from the Swamiji's Facebook page. I can share with, I can upload it to your
Share it with put it in that location
folder, and that way you can pick it up from there, right?
So that's what I was going to ask. It's not on his regular page, but you said it's on Facebook.
It's a Facebook, yeah.
Yeah, so it might be better if you can just give the image.
Yeah.
We are
That's
looking for it.
That's fine. Yeah. So if you just go, I mean, on a Facebook, if you just do a Swami Sarupananda, you will see it today's. Right. Anyway, that's just a thought, but I think I felt continuously showing Chinmaya Somnath. I think sometimes, yeah. Okay, that's all. We are closing here, so we will drop out of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much again, Hari Om.
And Deepaji, I think tomorrow when Maniji joins, I think he should be ready. But I'll speak to him if I can tomorrow, sometime during the day, to make sure he's all set and whatever, he's ready to go.
He will be downloading. He will be downloading everything from there, right? So I will copy them tonight after the
Yeah, if you copy them tonight, the only thing I would say is copy the what is it called? The Chinmaya Somnath picture also in there, just in case we need it. The only reason I say is something is not working. Let's say we can always use this as like a, sorry for the break message.
The other thing I was thinking is, I don't know, rename the file and just say Shivashakti dot whatever JPEG, because I think there's image itself is like Shiva and Shakti, but on the top there is a heading which says Chinmaya Somnath. So maybe that's what is bugging people.
Oh, okay. We can change that very easily.
Exactly. So I don't think it's the image is the problem. It's the heading is what I think it's bothering people. So just rename that file to say Shiva Shakti or
good point.
Something general. So
yeah.
I'm just looking at the Facebook page of Swami Swarupananda ji, and it is a nice image. So if today's was like a day 2, so Brahmacharini, let my mind revel in the Supreme with every breath. So it's a nice image. So it's a good suggestion.
Or it will be Chandra Ghanta then. It is that from that Kavacham, Devi Kavacham he's putting every day, Devi. So that will be good.
I have a question. At the end of the session, yes, people were not really leaving, so I just removed them. Is that okay?
You didn't remove Swamiji, right?
No, I didn't remove Swamiji. I'm sorry. No, I did not. Like, oh, did I remove him? I wouldn't remove him.
He said something and I was going to say, and the next thing is gone.
Yeah, he suddenly
left a bit abruptly.
Yeah.
Maybe I accidentally did that then. I did not mean to. If I did it, it was bad.
Let me just text him quickly.
But yeah, there were a lot of others who are removed.
Yeah, that's okay.
Already
Yes,
I made one mistake today. I was texting my daughter and I sent it to Swamiji, and then I'm like, sorry, Swamiji, not for you.
No, the only thing I would say is that
Already happened.
Swamiji is present. A lot of people want to stay back and talk to Swamiji.
Yeah,
And,
that's why I thought people were hanging out.
yeah, and but it's a tricky situation. Unless Swamiji wants to do it, we should not. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't want to encourage that. But I think the last day, let's keep it open. Let's not close until Swamiji wants to close.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, and it's also GD day, so it's always his time improves the
GD. Yeah,
GD response.
true. This is true. So last day, that's a good point. We can tell him that.
So Vijay Dashmi is actually on Sunday, but we are going on till Monday. So Swami.
Yeah, ours is a 10-day program versus a 9.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Dinesh, whatever prayer you do, please do it for us tomorrow.
What prayer?
I don't know. Whatever prayers you do, do it for us. We will need a lot of prayers tomorrow. We will we are relying on you until now, right? So now
you see how Deepa is so cheerful right now, and it was a different Deepa at the beginning of the session.
But I was super stressed out in the beginning because I was trying to find these two kids, right? We put their video and we're introducing the bhajan singers, and I have to tell their names, and I could not find their names. I don't know who they are. I'm like going around in circles with everyone trying to find their name. And so anyway, finally found it. So by the time I found it, I sat down. I was like too super. I couldn't. If you don't announce them, it doesn't look good. If you're going to tell everyone's name, no. So that's.
You did a good job, I think.
Yeah, today is good. So tomorrow, tomorrow is
okay.
Wednesday.
Okay. Take care, everybody.
Alrighty. Have a good night. Thank you, everyone. Hari Om. Bye.